and succeed, actually. So that's what I believe in. I believe we can always be smarter and more efficient, and new fresh eyes. It always happens when you start at work, a new place of employment, or you someone walks into someone else's home and goes, "You know what you should do here?" That's it. It's being open-minded to those changes, and those looking for those efficiencies and innovative ways to do things. And it's about attracting people and businesses. So next question. We definitely have some older facilities. My question to you is, what about the ice rinks we have? They've had leaky roofs. They're small and could not fit a whole hockey team in the dressing room. The ice surfaces get so cold in the cold winter days that it's not enjoyable for anyone to be out there, especially the young kids. How will you improve these? I think this issue is addressed somewhat in the recreational master plan. There is the idea of clustering. So I had three sons, two of which played hockey, and I'm very familiar with dressing one in one dressing room and dressing the other in the other dressing room, because you have to split the team up. And practice quite a bit in really, really cold rings outside the city. I think this speaks to the larger issue of lack of planning, lack of action on the original 2010 master plan, and just a kind of if we don't talk about deferred maintenance, then it just might go away, which clearly it doesn't. Ends up costing us more money in the long run. So I think the answer is to go back to the rec master plan. We paid lots of money for two of them over the last 10 years, and having a look at this, because investing in those type of recreational facilities, I firmly believe in, and being smart about it, being really smart about it. You know, the the city uses $600,000 to operate the rinks, and when I was at the exhibition board, the 6 ice surfaces that we had there in the Cooperator Center, we took $100,000 from the city in terms of operating. So there's a way to do it. I'm not sure it's being done very efficiently right now. How would you rate the Regina Police Services handling of the traffic disruptions, active mischief, etc. during the Unifor strike at the Co-op refinery? If you were mayor at the time, would you have requested RPS to do anything differently? So the issue that you're talking about was between a union, Unifor, and the employer, which was the Co-op refinery. And it was, it did get heated at times. I think the police were acting under, first, protecting the public, ensuring there's public safety, because it was very confrontational and tempers did run hot. And so that's happening. I understand there were several arrests made during the strike and that those matters are pending before the court. I think as mayor, what I would want to know is I would want to delve into that issue. It's an incredibly significant issue that's happened in our city in the last year. And those jobs are important to our city, and it's really important that the refinery is an ongoing profitable enterprise. And respect on both sides is probably pretty important. I would want to know, I would welcome a discussion with Chief Bray in terms of the lessons they learned in that situation. It may not, if anything were to ever happen again, you would want to know coming out of it, what could we have done differently? What did we get right? And, you know, sometimes if success means, if everyone's a little upset with the police service, maybe that's an indication of their fairness. But again, I would need to be in the seat and have a review of that with Chief Bray. It is not my child crying if you hear my child crying. What is your vision for Regina's transit? I've talked about transit before in terms of, I understand its absolute vital importance as it relates to the ability of citizens of our city to access employment, medical care, education, recreational enjoyment. I am I am, sorry, a second. Just kids running. Um, I also understand that transit service and mass transit is a way to address some of the issues of cars on the street and climate change. I am a fan of the transit review to come out of it, and I think part of the decision is we need to know. I know there's some movement towards transit on demand, a program, and that will affect what the future of transit looks like and how to improve it. I had a lesson in transit today, and I think the answer is coming out of some of the pilot projects as it relates to transit on demand, and that transit review will determine how to improve it. I do not think transit can possibly be, given our size, all things to all people, and I'm supportive of ensuring that the people who need it have access to it. So I'm not sure if I've answered that question, because vision is a hard question, but um, I believe in mass transit. It's how I got to university as a kid. Um, I tell people that when I was 11 years old, I used to ride the bus by myself in Winnipeg, Manitoba. Um, it was a different time, and but it was literally what gave a kid freedom. So, yeah, um, hmm. I think there's something there in that transit review, which is going to result in some good questions coming out of it in terms of what we want our transit to be. And the next question is, why should I vote for you to be the next mayor of Regina? I think you should vote for me because the city needs a fresh set of eyes. The city needs a champion, somebody who's always going to advocate for the citizens of Regina and the position of the city of Regina, whether that be with the province or the federal government or just nationally on the national stage, as a wonderful place to live with incredible citizens. I think I have experience in terms of building consensus and bringing people together and brokering deals to make things happen. So that's why I think you should vote for me to be the next city mayor. What is your thinking regarding the P3 approach to structural developments? I think those need to be looked at carefully. I think P3 projects facilitate infrastructure going forward sometimes. That's just the nature of it. I think it's always a matter of the long-term outcome. If you're not looking at what the long-term outcome is going to be like 5 years, 10 years, sometimes we get so focused on making something happen, we're not looking 5, 10, 15, 25 years out, and I think that's important. So I was asked the question by the press yesterday with regard to the aquatic center, because I was talking about 10% fundraising or sponsorship, and they'd asked about the P3, and I said no, the aquatic center would be a civic infrastructure project. That's what it would be. But there are some projects that are so massive that P3 may be the answer, but case by case basis, and again, it has to be with long-term thinking, a long-term outcome in terms of the implications for the city. If elected mayor, how would you make Regina more attractive in retaining families? I think safe streets are important. I think jobs are important. I think accessibility to world-class universities and research and Polytechnic and FNU is important. I think activation of our city. So that's recreational facilities, that's cultural facilities. That's making Regina more beautiful and vibrant and inclusive. And so that's economic development, that's creating fair opportunities, that's safety. Literally the pillars of my platform are ways to make Regina more attractive in retaining families. It bothers me that 3 of my kids don't live here. It bothers me very much. I wish there were opportunities for them here like there are elsewhere right now. I come from a generation where most of my friends moved away, and I don't want that to happen in the city of Regina at all. We need to get to work on that one. This comes from the Cowessess First Nation, and the question is, have you spent time on a First Nation, and have you participated in an Indigenous ceremony, and have you participated in a blanket exercise? In the blanket exercise, I apologize, I got that wrong. I had the opportunity for an invitation out to Cowessess First Nation, and then there was the Saskatchewan Health Association was going to be attending, and so we stayed away. Right now, during COVID, my hat's off to the First Nations as they've done an incredible job protecting their communities and their people, And so trying to be really sensitive to that. I very much look forward. We have a number of bands nations around our city within kilometers, and my intention would be to visit every one of them. And I look forward to participating in an Indigenous ceremony, and if elected mayor, I've been promised one, and so it's a great honor. And no, I keep saying this about as it relates to Indigenous culture. Is my job is to be quiet and to listen and to learn, and the questions you've asked are all ways to do that, and I look forward to it. What is your stance on property taxes? Are you willing to freeze our property taxes, or at least look at what services we are getting for the amount we pay? I think that's the whole point of my platform when I talk about efficiencies at City Hall. The more and more people I talk to, they all understand that their property taxes have escalated significantly in the last 8 years, but they do not feel like they're getting value for their, it's not like they feel like they're getting more services for the amount that they're paying. And I can tell you honestly, we keep diving into years worth of financial results, and we can't quite put our finger on sort of where that money is going. And I think I'm going to ask the citizens of Regina this question. Do you feel like you are better off, that you're in a better place from a tax perspective in terms of what you pay for what you get? I think that's one of the issues, and that's one of the reasons why I'm running for mayor, is because the citizens of Regina are the city's customers. And you pay a certain amount to have a home in order to receive city services. And you should be treated with value, and you should feel like you're getting value for that money. There's another question about, if elected, what are you going to do about the high water billing rates and I think that's my efficiency review when it comes right down to it. There's something about the water billing rates, and I think they increased them once to help fund one of the infrastructure projects, and then they increased it again, ostensibly for the same reason. So, yes, would I be digging into that? That is, again, the whole point of an efficiency review, to have a look at what's being charged, what's being provided, and what's a better way of doing things. What is your position on moving the railway tracks off Ring Road? My understanding is it would cost an awful amount of money, probably in the area of $500 million, which would undoubtedly cause a huge tax increase. I think the number that's in the budget, so again, I'll go back. They're not moving the rail tracks off of Ring Road. Sorry, this is my understanding from inside the city in 2017, reviewing sort of what had been discussed, and there had been federal funds available for it back in 2017. I think council was set aside in 2017 about $2 million in the general reserve in order to do this, to do the planning for this. But essentially, overpasses and bridges are tested every year, and that's good. They're supposed to be, because they have human beings on them, and we don't want them falling or collapsing. So the Winnipeg Street overpass was being scheduled for work to be done in the next, so it was 2017, it was scheduling sometime in the next 5 to 7 years. It was going to require some work, the overpass that goes over the Ring Road, which is right adjacent to where those rail tracks are on the Ring Road. So the idea at that time was, if they were going to be working on the overpass, why would they not look at the same time of creating, elevating the Ring Road into the overpass and then down again, which would essentially build Ring Road over top of the train tracks. That's the idea. So it was $100 million was the projected cost 3 years ago. I'm not sure if that still holds true. $500 million is incorrect, or it better be incorrect, or it's a no-go. But essentially it's tied into regular maintenance relative to the Winnipeg Street overpass, with the idea to build to extend the overpass over the rail tracks, so the rail tracks go underneath. That's the idea. So again, my understanding is, and the city doesn't do multi-year budgeting, so and it would be my intention to incorporate that. So I don't know what that looks like and how that gets allocated over the next number of years, but I would assume that is built into the road renewal project. So again, have a look at that when we get there. Race relations is an important issue across the world and in our city. The racial composition of Regina, 79% white, 10% Aboriginal,